I had been unconscious at home alone for more than 2 hours. When I finally woke up, I hurriedly called Amanda. Before I could even speak, her decisive voice came through the receiver. "The reporters are making things up. Don't take it seriously. Come home and I'll explain." I stared blankly at the phone after she hung up. Only a few minutes later did it hit me to check the news. There was no need to search, she was already trending. Amanda's husband makes his first public appearance. A family of 3 enjoys a sweet outing. The photos showed Amanda holding Andrew in one arm while holding hands with a handsome man beside her. I let out a bitter smile. If they were a family of 3, if he was Amanda's husband, then what was I, the man who was her husband in the eyes of the law, supposed to be? Chapter 1. The phone slipped from my palm and hit the floor, and only then did I realize I was still lying on the ground. I sat up abruptly, my head spinning. I picked up the phone and glanced at the time. Only then did I fully realize I had really been unconscious for over 2 hours. I figured it was probably hypoglycemia. It had happened before. I'd nearly collapsed because of low blood sugar. Right now, what I needed most was a piece of candy, something to eat. I immediately lifted my foot and headed out of the study. Clatter, a soft sound rang out. I looked down to see the airplane model I'd spent ages assembling crushed under my foot. I had no energy to care. I kept walking toward the living room. After eating a milk candy and a piece of bread, I finally felt like I'd come back to life. Leaning against the sofa, I sat there in a daze for more than 10 minutes before picking up my phone again. I opened the trending article and discovered there was even a video attached. Without hesitation, I tapped play. The secretly filmed footage showed a family of 3, enjoying a sweet day out, the female CEO of the Han Group and her family. They rode the Ferris wheel together, watched a circus performance together, and played frisbee together. In the comments, netizens marveled at how down-to-earth President Han's family was, lining up for attractions just like everyone else. Although the footage wasn't very clear, I could still recognize at a glance who the man mistaken for her husband was. Amanda Han's longtime crush, Sebastian. The video continued to play when Sebastian scooped a spoonful of the ice cream he was eating and held it out to Andrew. And Andrew ate it without the slightest hesitation. I froze. The next second, Sebastian kissed him on the cheek. My son, the one who never lets me kiss him, smiled brightly and kissed him back. A sharp, stabbing pain tore through my chest, forcing me to bend over. Tears slid down my face without warning. All of a sudden, I felt like everything I'd held on to all these years was nothing but a joke. Chapter 2. When Andrew was still too young to understand anything, I couldn't help kissing his chubby cheeks all the time. But after he turned a little over 2, he stopped letting me kiss him. Whenever I tried, he would push me away with all his strength. After that, he would even grab a tissue and carefully wipe the spot I had kissed. "Why won't you let Daddy kiss you?" I asked him. "Saliva isn't hygienic," he said seriously in his soft, childish voice. And he never ate anything I had already eaten, either. If I handed him a piece of fruit I had taken a bite from, he would push it away in disgust. Frowning, he would say, "Dirty." Back then, the sight of his round little face, lips pursed as he said such words, had a strangely adorable contrast to it. It was unbelievably cute. Although I felt a little uncomfortable inside, I had to admit he was right. It really wasn't hygienic. I even felt proud. My baby was smart, mindful of cleanliness from such a young age, able to hold himself to strict standards despite being so little, truly worthy of being his mommy's son. That serious expression of his looked as if it had been molded from the same template as his mommy's. I loved his mommy so much, how could I possibly not love him? So I respected his wishes. I stopped kissing him and stopped feeding him food I had already eaten. After he turned 3, at his insistence, I rarely even held him anymore. I thought this was simply his personality. Just like his mommy, he was naturally aloof, instinctively distant from the people around him. I understood and respected that. However, after watching the video today, I finally understood that so-called aloofness was simply selective. Chapter 3. Amanda, who was always reserved and unsmiling, turned out to be capable of smiling, and smiling so brightly. The son I thought had a cleanliness obsession turned out to be able to eat food others had eaten, and kiss others on the cheek. All these years, no matter how hard I tried, I had never received from either of them the kind of treatment Sebastian got so effortlessly. I had to admit it, whether as a husband or as a father, I had failed pretty badly. In an instant, all the drive in my body seemed to be drained away. An unprecedented sense of exhaustion washed over me like a tide. I stared numbly at the ceiling. Forget it. Give up. One-sided effort is just too tiring. My abilities are limited. My energy is finite. This is as far as I can go. Amanda, running toward you is too hard. I don't want to persist anymore. After zoning out for a while longer, it suddenly occurred to me that I should go to the hospital. I'd been feeling easily fatigued lately, and today I had even passed out at home. I couldn't keep neglecting my body. I had wanted to get a checkup for a long time. but it kept being delayed by endless household matters. For the sake of the two of them, I was so busy I had no time to see a doctor, so exhausted that I passed out alone at home for over 2 hours without anyone noticing. Meanwhile, the two of them were out enjoying a sweet outing with someone else, playing happily. Thinking about it felt bleak. For the first time, I felt that I truly wasn't worth it. From now on, I would treat myself a little better. I would stop being a big fool who gave everything to others while neglecting himself. I went to the most famous private hospital in the city, spent a hefty sum to use the VIP channel, and underwent a comprehensive medical examination. The doctor said all the results would be out within 2 hours. While waiting in the hospital's VIP lounge, I received a WeChat friend request. I tapped into it. The profile picture was Sebastian's face, warm and radiant like a spring breeze. I accepted his request. A few minutes later, he sent me a voice message. I tapped it and heard a conversation that made my heart turn cold. Andrew, you came to keep Uncle company on his birthday today. If Daddy gets mad at you, Uncle will explain it for you. That was Sebastian's voice. Don't worry, Uncle, he doesn't know, said my son Andrew. At 4 years old, his childish lisp had not yet completely faded. It's Saturday today. Didn't your dad want to spend time playing with you? Sebastian asked again. I told him to help me build Lego. He doesn't have time to go out. Did Andrew do this on purpose, just so you could come out and celebrate Uncle's birthday without worry? I lied to him and said it was homework assigned by the teacher. That Lego set is really hard, enough to keep him busy all day. Wow. Andrew is so smart to come up with something like that. You're so thoughtful. Uncle is really touched. Then there was another smack sound, probably another kiss on the cheek. Even though I was used to disappointment, hearing this conversation still hurt me all over again. How could such a cold, callous heart come from a voice that was still so childlike? I thought back to this morning. Like every other Saturday, I had gone to the old house with a light, eager heart to pick Andrew up for the weekend. He had shoved a big box straight into my arms. This is weekend homework assigned by the teacher. It's really hard. Daddy, can you help me build it? Andrew rarely showed weakness in front of me. I forcibly interpreted that really hard as him acting spoiled. So even though I felt a little regret at not being able to take him out to play, being needed like that filled me with a sense of flattered satisfaction. Standing nearby, Amanda said expressionlessly, then stay home today and help Andrew build Lego. I'll take him to the company. I had really wanted to say that it was fine. I could build Lego at home while taking care of him. But after years of habitually obeying Amanda, I still couldn't bring myself to speak. I silently watched the mother and son leave together. Now I finally knew. It had all been lies. Chapter 4. My son used my love for him, making the excuse that he needed me to help him build Lego, just to keep me trapped at home. And my wife took our son to meet the men she had been secretly in love with for years, her so-called idol. In this family, I had always been an outsider. The moment I finally recognized my place, I truly woke up. Fortunately, when the test results came out, the doctor told me there was nothing seriously wrong with my body, just long-term lack of rest, leaving me in a state of exhaustion. You fainted today because you skipped lunch and triggered hypoglycemia, the doctor reminded me. Make sure you rest well, eat properly, and keep your nutrition up. I nodded repeatedly, forgetting to eat lunch because I was busy building Lego. Such a stupid mistake. I would never make it again. From now on, nothing was more important than my own health. On the way home from the hospital, Sebastian sent me another text message. You know very well who Amanda loves. I'm back now. If you've got any sense, get lost early. I chuckled softly. Did Amanda know that her idol would say something this crude? It seemed Sebastian was determined to get Amanda this time. I didn't know whether it was because going through a marriage made him realize how good Amanda was to him, or because he had genuinely fallen in love with her. After all, in the past, when faced with Amanda's desperate pleas, Sebastian had been able to leave the country without looking back. On the day he got married overseas, when Amanda flew there overnight to try to stop the wedding, he still rejected her without the slightest change in expression. To him, Amanda had never been his first choice, unless circumstances forced his hand, and Amanda became his best option. It was Amanda's love that made him so fearless. Indeed, ever since he returned to the country over a month ago, Amanda had been coming home later and later, and less often. Her heart had already begun to drift away. In fact, her heart had always been with him. That was why Sebastian could provoke me so openly. I didn't reply to his message. I was tired. I didn't want to waste even a shred of energy on their affairs. Right now, all I wanted was to leave as soon as possible and put an end to this mistaken marriage. When I was almost home, I stopped by a small private kitchen restaurant, ordered a few dishes, and ate slowly and carefully. I would take the doctor's words to heart and eat properly. By the time I got home, it was already past 7. I lay on the sofa watching TV. As the sky gradually darkened and I was about to get up to take a shower, I heard movement at the front door. Amanda appeared in the doorway, holding Andrew's hand. Chapter 5. As Amanda walked into the house, she rubbed her temples and said to me, "Make some hangover soup. I drank a bit tonight, and my stomach feels uncomfortable." I looked up at her. The cool, beautiful woman in front of me was wearing a light blue casual outfit, something I rarely ever saw on her. Maybe it was the clothes, but she carried an unusual sense of ease and looseness. After all, ever since I graduated and became Amanda's assistant, the version of her I saw was always dressed in perfectly tailored, sharp suits. Her unsmiling expression paired with expensive formal wear created a kind of distant, unapproachable aura. Even after we got married, aside from suits, the only other time I saw her was at night, after she showered and changed into pajamas. I hardly ever saw her in casual clothes. Or rather, aside from work and sleep, I had almost never seen her in any other setting. Only then did I realize we had never gone out to have fun together after getting married. A relationship like this, a marriage like this, was indeed a failure. Noticing that I was still sitting on the sofa without moving, Amanda frowned. "Hurry up." In the past, when faced with her impatient expression, I would instinctively feel tense. But today, I found myself unusually calm. "There's nothing in the fridge. I can't make it," I replied flatly. Amanda, who had just sat down, froze for a moment, clearly not expecting me to refuse her. She straightened up and looked at me. "Are you angry about what happened today?" "I'm not." Before I could finish, Andrew cut me off. He had run straight into the study after coming in and was now running back out. "Why didn't you finish building my Lego?" he demanded, holding a broken airplane wing and glaring at me angrily. I looked at him calmly. "Your teacher didn't assign this homework, did they?" "But," Andrew pressed his lips together, his tone righteous, "but I really wanted this airplane to be finished." "So you lied to me," I said evenly, without anger. "You lied to get me to help you build Lego so you could go celebrate your Uncle Sebastian's birthday without me getting in the way. Who told you to cling to me every weekend? Being with you isn't fun at all," Andrew accused, pointing at me. I let out a bleak smile. "Is it because being with me isn't fun, or because you simply don't like me?" Andrew bit his lip and said nothing. This was my own flesh and blood. There were still traces of me in his brows and eyes. During the first 6 months after he was born, I would often stare at him and grin like an idiot. I'd poke his chubby cheeks with my finger and think, how can my baby be this cute? How could I possibly not love him? But this son of mine was too hard to please. Maybe it was because once breastfeeding ended, he was taken back to the old house and raised by his maternal grandparents. So he had never been close to me. Every weekend, after I brought him home, I would rack my brain trying to make him happy, but he never bought into it. I suggested going to the amusement park, he refused. I suggested staying home to play games together, he refused that too. Faced with a son who was completely impervious, I was often at a loss. The way we interacted most often was simply staying at home in silence. I prepared fruit and cooked meals for him, while he stayed in the study watching cartoons, reading picture books, or playing with building blocks. At such a young age, he was already highly self-disciplined. 15 minutes of cartoons a day, never 1 minute more. He also studied characters and numbers on his own. His grandparents had hired tutors for every subject and various interest classes, arranging his learning and hobbies in a well-structured way. He didn't need any guidance from me at all. Sometimes, when I saw him doing arithmetic problems, I told him that he could ask Daddy if he didn't understand. Without even looking up, he said, "No need. My math teacher will teach me." Now I finally understood. Because he didn't like me as his father. He didn't want to be with me. He didn't want any interaction with me at all. For the first time, I realized that perhaps we were destined to have a shallow father-son bond. Some things simply can't be forced. Chapter 6. Maybe it was the first time I had ever spoken to Andrew in a tone that wasn't trying to please him. He didn't react right away, just stared up at me blankly. Amanda pulled our son over, her expression darkening as she pointed at me and scolded. "You're taking your anger over our issues out on him. Don't you think that's too much? He's only 4 years old." "I'm not taking it out on him. I'm just stating facts." Perhaps noticing that my attitude was different from before, Amanda let out a sigh. "I told you not to take today's news to heart. I'll handle it." I also said on the phone that I'd explain when I got back. I nodded and replied calmly, "All right, explain. I'm listening." Sebastian and I grew up together. He recently divorced and came back to the country. As a friend, I was worried he might be in a bad state of mind. So I spent more time with him. That's not crossing a line, is it? Besides, today was his birthday. Andrew and I just accompanied him to the amusement park for the day. Is that really something you need to be upset about? Then what about today's news? I asked. How do you plan to handle it? Since we got married, you've never appeared in front of the media. The public doesn't know what you look like. My plan is to let this news cool off, spend some money to pull it off the trending list. After a while, we'll push some other entertainment news. Netizens are fickle. They like novelty. Their attention will shift quickly, and no one will remember such a small matter. Amanda didn't love me. I had always known that. These past years, I had relied on nothing but reckless persistence, foolishly hoping to warm her heart of stone. But I hadn't expected that, in her eyes, I was this insignificant, my own wife and son trending with another man, being called a family of three. In her view, I wasn't even qualified to have an opinion. In fact, I was expected to cooperate with her and tacitly allow the outside world to assume Sebastian was her husband. Perhaps, to her, having the patience to explain all this to me already counted as showing me enough respect. Any further dissatisfaction on my part would simply mean I was being unreasonable. But I'd had enough of being the virtuous, obedient husband. Today, I didn't want to be reasonable anymore. Actually, there's a better solution. Want to hear it? I tilted my head and looked at her. Go on, she said coldly. We get divorced, I said with a faint smile. You immediately marry Sebastian. That way, your status as husband and wife becomes legitimate. Outsiders don't know it's a second marriage. From then on, you'll be a real family of three, able to appear openly in the media. I spoke with complete seriousness. Well, isn't this much better than your plan? Amanda's face instantly cooled. There are limits to throwing a tantrum. You know I don't have much patience. So I'm not throwing a tantrum. The divorce proposal is serious. Amanda was about to speak when Andrew suddenly shouted from the side. Divorce it is. That way Uncle Sebastian can be my dad. Uncle Sebastian graduated from a top university. He knows everything, astronomy, geography, and can help me with my homework. He's the one who deserves to be my dad. I thought to myself, I graduated from a top university in this country too. You don't even have the patience to talk to me. How can you be so sure I don't know astronomy or geography, or that I can't help you with your studies? Forget it. Since I'd already decided to leave, there was no point explaining any of this. I smiled. All right. I think he's more suitable to be your father too. I wish you all a happy life together. Alex. Amanda's face darkened. If you keep this up, there'll be no way back. I looked at the person in front of me and began to doubt myself. The woman I had loved for so many years, I seemed not to truly understand her after all. Perhaps whenever it involved Sebastian, she lost all sense of principle and rationality. Amanda Hahn. I called her by her full name as well. You have a professional legal team. Leave the divorce agreement to them. Think about it carefully. Divorce is actually the most beneficial option for you right now, isn't it? It solves the news issue and lets you get what you want, marrying the love of your life. Your parents and your son like him more too. One move, multiple gains. Isn't that good? Amanda Hahn stood up. You're speaking out of anger. I understand your lack of restraint. Let's talk again after you calm down. With that, she took Andrew by the hand and left. As for the trending news, it really did play out exactly as she said, handled with a cold treatment. The trending topic disappeared without a sound. The news about the Hahn Group's CEO taking a family of three on an outing quickly lost heat. From start to finish, the group's official account never said a word. All parties involved remained silent. But everyone knew, no denial was a tacit admission, which meant the Hahn Group had effectively acknowledged that so-called family of three. By then, I felt no emotional reaction at all. I simply waited quietly for Amanda's divorce agreement. But 3 days passed, and there was no movement on her side. When I called, it was always her assistant who answered. In a strictly professional tone, they told me, Sir, President Hahn isn't available to take calls right now. As for when she'll be free, I'm not sure. By the fourth day, I still couldn't reach Amanda Hahn. I sent her a text directly. If I don't see the divorce agreement soon, I'll hold a press conference in the name of your husband. Her call came back almost immediately. Let's talk after I get home from work. That evening, Amanda still didn't bring back a divorce agreement. She seemed convinced that I was just throwing a tantrum. In an impatient tone, she said, This matter is already over. Stop making a fuss. I genuinely don't understand. I looked up at her. You clearly like Sebastian. Why don't you just divorce me and marry him? If I divorce you the moment he comes back to the country, what would people in our circle say about him? Oh, I suddenly understood. So you don't want him to carry the bad reputation of being a homewrecker. Before she could speak, I continued. But that's not my concern. All I want right now is a divorce. Whether his reputation is good or bad has nothing to do with me. There's a limit to being willful, Amanda said coldly. Once I truly agree to divorce, there'll be no room for regret. Amanda, let me say this one more time. I'm not throwing a tantrum. If I don't see the divorce agreement before 9 tonight, I'll register accounts with major media outlets and publicly announce that I'm the legal husband, and that Sebastian is just a destroyer of someone else's marriage. Fine, fine, fine. She snapped in anger. I'll call right now and have the lawyers draft the agreement and send it over immediately. Don't regret it. Then hurry up, I urged. Andrew is my child. I won't give him to you, she added. He doesn't like me anyway. Even if I wanted him, he wouldn't come with me, I said with bitter self-mockery. Chapter 7. More than 2 hours later, the lawyer really did arrive at the door with the agreement. I glanced through it. Andrew's custody was granted to Amanda, and I was given visitation rights. What surprised me was that Amanda was fairly generous to me. Back when we got married, at her parents' insistence, we had signed a prenuptial agreement. The Hahn family's assets had nothing to do with me. I had already prepared myself to leave with nothing. Even so, Amanda still allocated me a portion of property that was, to me, quite substantial. I didn't dwell on it. I picked up the pen and signed my name immediately. She even generously gave me the marital home we had been living in. So after signing the agreement, I said to her, "Tomorrow we'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to register. You can leave now." At the moment she closed the door, Amanda said with a stiff face, "I won't indulge your willfulness. You should pay the price for your nonsense." Even now, she still firmly believed that my insistence on divorce was just a tantrum. She was still threatening me, pushing the idea that if I kept this up, there would truly be no turning back. But what she didn't know was that once I decided to divorce, I had never intended to turn back. The next day, we went to the Civil Affairs Bureau and completed the registration. For an entire month after that, Amanda and I never saw each other again. On the weekend, as usual, I went to pick up Andrew. He asked me, "Are you really going to divorce Mom?" I nodded. The joy on his face was impossible to hide, and I no longer felt hurt by his dislike of me. My son said to me in a tone as if granting a favor, "You can come see me in the future, but not too often. Once a month is enough. Otherwise, I'm afraid Uncle Sebastian won't be happy." I didn't respond. So be it. As far as this son of mine was concerned, I had already done my best. I had come to terms with it and accepted the fact that he didn't love me. A month later, Amanda and I met again at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Once I had the divorce certificate in hand, I left without looking back. Chapter 8. I spent another month or so swiftly dealing with the real estate in my possession. All the houses and shops Amanda had given me, I sold every single one, including the marital home we had lived in for 5 years. On the night before leaving, I called the old house and told Andrew that I would come see him the next day. After all, once I left this time, we might not see each other again for a long while. Andrew replied impatiently, "I don't have time tomorrow. Uncle Sebastian is taking me swimming." "All right, then goodbye, Andrew. Grow up well in the future," I said, and hung up the phone. The next day, I boarded a southbound train. My hometown was a small town in the south. The courtyard I lived in as a child was still there. Ever since my parents passed away, it had fallen into neglect. I hired a renovation team and had the entire courtyard renovated from inside out. I planned to plant flowers in the front yard and turn the backyard into a vegetable garden. When the renovation started, I registered an account online to document the process. In the future, I planned to become a self-media content creator, recording my pastoral life, planting flowers, growing vegetables, cooking meals every day. This had always been the life I longed for, but in the past, following Amanda, such a life was impossible. I could only bury that wish deep in my heart. Now, spending my days busily working in my own little courtyard, my heart felt lighter and freer than ever before. I started being a content creator with a just trying it out mindset and didn't have much hope to begin with. Unexpectedly, just the video documenting the complete renovation process alone reached over 1 million views, with more than 100,000 likes. In just 3 short months, my account had already gained over 10,000 followers. It far exceeded my expectations, an unexpected delight. As the weather gradually turned colder, most of the plants in the front yard shed their leaves, leaving only bare branches. That day, as I wandered around the yard, thinking about what evergreen plants to add to bring more life into the space, my phone rang. It was the police. "Alex, your nephew has been found." Chapter 9. The moment I saw the little boy at the police station, I immediately believed he was my nephew, because he looked so much like my older sister, and at the same time, so much like me. The police still had my sister's and brother-in-law's DNA records on file. The officers told me they had already done the comparison. He was indeed their son. I pulled the little boy tightly into my arms. He was thin and small, clearly a year older than Andrew, yet he looked shorter than him. He was very light in my arms too, like a pitiful little kitten. "Vale, I'm your little uncle." I buried my face in the crook of his neck and cried like rain. Back then, my mom was walking along the road with Vale in her arms. A van suddenly stopped beside her. Someone rushed out, snatched the child from my mom's arms, jumped back into the vehicle, and in an instant, it drove away. Vale had been taken by force. My sister and brother-in-law quit their jobs and began searching for their child all over the country. Whenever there was any information about a missing child, no matter how far away, they would rush there immediately. Once, they saw a photo provided by an online user. The boy in it looked very much like Vale. They drove through a torrential rainstorm to get there, but on the way, they were involved in a car accident. Both of them died on the spot. Ever since Vale was taken, my mom had been drowning in guilt. Her health declined rapidly, and eventually she became bedridden. At that time, Andrew was only half a year old and had just been weaned. His grandmother suggested several times that Andrew be taken back to the old house and raised by her personally. I refused every time. Later, I had no choice but to hand Andrew over to her care. I returned to my hometown, taking care of my mom while waiting for news of Vale. Not long after, the police said they had tracked down the human trafficking group responsible. They had attempted to flee overseas by boat. When the police caught up with them, a gunfight broke out. The boat carrying the traffickers somehow exploded. Everyone on board, not only the traffickers, but also many children they had abducted and planned to sell overseas, was buried at sea. The police said, "Your nephew was very likely on that boat and has probably." My mom, already in frail health, fainted on the spot when she heard the news. 2 days later, she passed away. After handling the affairs at home, I locked the courtyard gate and headed north alone. When I returned to the Hahn family's old house and tried to take Andrew back, his grandmother refused. Andrew didn't recognize me anymore. The moment I held him, he burst into tears. All my relatives were gone. At that time, he was the only person left in this world who shared my blood. I loved him down to my bones, unwilling to let him suffer even the slightest grievance. When he refused to let me hold him, I couldn't bear to force him to leave with me. Later, as he grew older and developed his own sense of self, he disliked me even more. Chapter 10. The police said that Vale had been raised by an elderly scavenger living in the countryside. Nearby villagers said the old person had found him by the roadside back then. At the time, his whole body was burning with fever, barely clinging to life. The elderly person took him to a small clinic for treatment, shots and medicine. Slowly, he recovered, because he hadn't reached school age yet, and the old person's awareness was limited. Vale was never registered in the household system. All these years, Vale followed the person he called Grandma out every day to collect scrap. It wasn't until recently, after the elderly person passed away, that Vale was sent to the police station by the village committee. Only then was his identity discovered. Tears streamed down my face as I choked out to the little boy. Our Vale has already endured all the suffering this life could throw at him. From now on, everything will go smoothly. My brother-in-law had been an only child. His parents had also passed away one after another over the past few years. Now, I was Vale's only living relative in this world. After completing the procedures at the police station, I became Vale's legal guardian. I took Vale home, bathed him, and changed him into warm clothes. His small hands were red and swollen from the cold. I carefully applied medicine to them. The little boy was very well behaved. Even though it hurt, he endured it without making a sound. Vale, Uncle is your only family now. I'll take care of you as you grow up. From now on, this is your home. The little boy looked up at me, blinking his eyes. The police uncle said you're my mom's younger brother. Is that true? I smiled. Of course. Haven't you noticed? We look very much alike. I picked up a small mirror and pointed to our heads leaning together in the reflection. Look, aren't our eyes exactly the same? The little boy nodded, his eyes sparkling. Do you want to see what your dad looks like? I asked. The little boy nodded vigorously. I brought out the family photo albums and flipped through them page by page with him. This is your dad when he was little. This is your dad with Uncle. This is your dad in college. The little boy listened intently. After finishing the album, he suddenly turned and hugged me tightly. Uncle, will you always stay with Vale? Because of everything he'd been through, Vale was deeply insecure, terrified of being abandoned. I squatted down in front of him and said solemnly, I will. Uncle will grow up together with Vale. Even when I grow up, we won't separate, the little boy said. I smiled. All right. Even when you grow up, we won't separate. Chapter 11. Vale is a very considerate child. At such a young age, he's already skilled at doing household chores. If a little water splashes onto the floor, he immediately grabs a rag and wipes it clean. When I cook, he insists on standing beside me, helping to pick and wash vegetables. After meals, he always rushes to wipe the table. Back when I worried about Andrew getting cavities, I used to make pear syrup candy myself for him, but he usually looked at it with disdain. Now when I make pear syrup candy for Vale, the little boy eats it until his eyes curve into crescents. Uncle, the candy you make is so delicious. It's the best candy in the whole world. The kid has the sweetest mouth. His smile can heal all my unhappiness. I contacted the kindergarten in town and enrolled Vale. He's 5 years old this year and has never been to kindergarten before. On the day I sent him there, his eyes were full of tears, and he kept turning back step after step. Even when we reached the gate, he suddenly turned around and charged into my arms like a little cannonball. Uncle, you'll come pick me up today, right? He pouted, holding back tears, his voice trembling. I raised 3 fingers on my right hand. Uncle swears I'll definitely come pick Vale up this afternoon. If I don't, I'll be taken away by the big bad wolf. No, I don't want Uncle to be taken away. The little boy burst into tears again. It took a long time to coax him before I finally managed to get him into the kindergarten. At noon, the teacher messaged me. saying that Vale had cried again during nap time, saying he missed his uncle. In the afternoon, before dismissal time even arrived, I was already waiting at the kindergarten gate. I didn't want my little boy to wait even one extra minute. After about a week of adjustment, Vale finally got used to kindergarten. Our lives gradually settled into calm. That day, Vale and I were at home using dough to shape buns into little animals. When he saw flour stuck on my nose, he laughed so hard he nearly fell over. The doorbell at the front yard gate rang. I got up to open the door, with Vale hopping along behind me. When I saw the two people, one big, one small, standing at the entrance, I froze. Amanda spoke in a tone that begged to be punched. Had enough of your tantrum. Hurry up and pack your things and come back with me. Chapter 12. Her arrogant, self-assured posture made me laugh in anger. Amanda, let me remind you, we've been divorced for almost half a year. She shot me a sideways glance. I know. You've stubbornly refused to contact me because you were waiting for me to take the initiative and bring you back. Now that I'm here, you've achieved your goal. There's no need to keep posturing. Without waiting for my reply, she pushed past me and walked into the yard on her own. She looked around while clicking her tongue in disdain. This yard is way too small. Is it even 50 square meters? You like planting flowers anyway. Once we're back, we'll move to the villa in West Garden. It has over 200 square meters of garden space front and back, plenty for you to mess around with. Amanda, I shouted. Can you understand human language? We're divorced. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. Now get the hell out of my house. Amanda frowned, about to say something, when Andrew spoke up beside her. At such a young age, he once again wore that familiar dissatisfied expression. Dad, Mom and I personally came to pick you up. What more could you possibly be unhappy about? Vale, who had been standing beside me the whole time, immediately tensed up when he heard someone call me Dad and grabbed my hand tightly. I soothingly patted his head. Who is he? Andrew demanded loudly. Vale shuddered under his fierce glare. My heart ached, and I quickly pulled him into my arms. You scared him, I said unhappily. Usually calm and self-controlled, Andrew suddenly exploded like a lit firecracker. With reddened eyes, he charged over, trying to yank Vale out of my arms. I dodged his grab. He refused to let it go. Who is this little brat? You're not allowed to hold him. Put him down. Amanda almost couldn't hold him back. I said coldly to both of them, if you don't leave right now, I'll call the police. Amanda dragged her son out to the yard gate, then turned back and said to me, we're staying at the hotel at the intersection. We'll only be here for 3 days, and then we'll leave. During these 3 days, you can come find us anytime. Miss it, and don't blame us. The moment they left, I locked the yard gate. Uncle, who were they? Vale asked cautiously. They were my former wife and my son, but I'm divorced now, and my son won't be with me anymore. I explained patiently. Will you go back with that auntie? No. Thinking of that mother and son's lofty attitude, and Amanda's tone of absolute certainty, I felt an urge to slap my past self a few times. It was my fault for being such a simp, putting her on a pedestal so high that she became this confident. She was convinced I loved her to the bone, that I could never leave her in this lifetime. Even after divorce, she still thought I was playing hard to get, retreating in order to advance. Honestly, I can't even blame Amanda for being so conceited. Looking back at everything I did before, I really did act like I'd been bewitched, like a championship-level simp. Chapter 13. Amanda was 2 years my senior, my upperclassman. The first time we met was because she stepped in to uphold justice. That day, I bought a watermelon at the small convenience store under the dorm building. When I cut it open back in my room, I found it was completely unripe. Furious, I took the cut watermelon back to confront the clerk. Unfortunately, I hadn't taken the receipt with me. Seeing that I had no proof, the clerk flatly denied everything. He wouldn't even touch the watermelon, insisting it hadn't been bought at his store. He told me to take it away quickly and stop interfering with his business. I had never encountered someone so unreasonable. I was so anxious that I couldn't even get my words out. Amanda, who was waiting nearby to check out, couldn't stand it anymore. She pointed across the street and said the computer repair shop over there was run by her classmate, and that the camera at the entrance happened to capture the convenience store counter. I'll go ask my classmate to check the footage, she said. We'll see whether. 10 minutes ago, this student walked out of here carrying a watermelon. Wouldn't that settle it? Oh, maybe I remembered wrong. The clerk immediately changed his tune. So many customers every day. How could I remember everyone? Right. In the end, I successfully exchanged the watermelon. After leaving the store, I hurried to thank Amanda. Is that computer repair shop really run by your classmate? I asked, taking the chance to probe a little. Are you a computer science major? Senior? No. She laughed lightly. I'm in finance. But the shop really does belong to a friend of mine. And there is a camera at the door, only it's just for show and broke ages ago. I was bluffing him. Her smile was faint, lasting barely a second, but in that moment, I fell. Later, I saw her again at a debate competition. That was when I learned she was a standout figure at our university. With her striking looks and excellent grades, she was admired by many male students. I wasn't good with words myself, so I especially admired people who were eloquent and sharp-tongued. At that debate, I witnessed her outstanding rhetoric and formidable logical thinking. My feelings for her slowly shifted, from pure admiration into something else. From classmates, I learned that she already had someone she liked. It was her childhood sweetheart, Sebastian, also a hugely popular heartthrob at our school. It was said that after the college entrance exams, Amanda had copied Sebastian's university preferences word for word. Yet before graduating from college, Sebastian had already gone through several girlfriends. Amanda, on the other hand, had never dated anyone. Everyone knew she was quietly waiting for him, and I was quietly watching her. After graduating, Amanda entered her family's group company. At a product launch event, her looks, on par with top-tier idols, earned her the nickname, the nation's husband, online. The year I graduated, Sebastian went abroad with his foreign girlfriend to pursue graduate studies. I turned down an offer from another top corporation and immediately sent my resume to the Han Group. I knew it was impossible, but my lovesick, hopelessly romantic brain was in full control. I was willing to stay by Amanda Han's side in silence. I became her assistant. Being able to work close to her every day was enough to satisfy me. The day before Sebastian got married overseas, Amanda flew there to try to stop the wedding. She returned in failure, drunk beyond measure. That night, I went to make her some hangover soup, and she pushed me down onto the bed. I didn't resist. A month later, she was pregnant. After Amanda found out, she said she was willing to marry me. I knew full well that it was because Sebastian's marriage had crushed her hopes, and she had simply given up on the idea of marriage altogether. Yet I still couldn't help feeling overjoyed. She was my goddess. How could I bear to refuse her? After we got married, I burned myself out completely, trying to warm Amanda's heart, but I failed. I burned myself down to ashes, and she remained unmoved. Chapter 14. I didn't pay any attention to Amanda's talk about giving me 3 days. She even expected me to take the initiative if we were to get back together. In this lifetime, she would never be able to stand on equal footing with me in a relationship. That wasn't the kind of partnership I wanted. On the evening of the 3rd day, the mother and son appeared at my door again. Andrew put on a stiff little face. Mom came in person to take you home. What more do you want? I crouched down in front of him and explained calmly. She and I are already divorced. We can't live together anymore. And if I remember correctly, didn't you want Sebastian to be your dad? Andrew pouted. I don't like him anymore. I looked at Amanda. You and Sebastian didn't get back together. I thought you were already married. Can we talk? Amanda asked. I nodded and let them inside. Staying deadlocked like this wasn't a solution. It was time to talk things through properly. They sat down on the sofa, and I brought over 2 glasses of water. Amanda glanced around the room and said in a gentler tone, I didn't think things through last time. That was my fault. Actually, the environment here is really nice. You've always been like this, able to make any place you live feel warm and cozy. Without you, the house feels like it suddenly lost all its warmth. It's become cold and empty. I don't even like going home anymore. I had no interest in listening to this and pulled the conversation back. You didn't remarry? After the divorce, I did get together with Sebastian. Maybe because we'd never truly been lovers before, once we actually dated, I realized we weren't compatible at all. Even just in daily habits, we're completely different. I keep a regular schedule, go to bed early and wake up early. He likes staying up late, partying at bars all night and sleeping through the day. He's extremely sociable, wherever he goes. He's surrounded by friends. If we had even a small disagreement, his friends would come one after another to question me and take his side. Living with him felt exhausting. Every day left me drained. He also had no patience with Andrew and would yell at him over trivial things. We only dated a little over 3 months before breaking up. Alex, I was slow to realize it. Before, I didn't notice, but actually, the 2 of us are the most suitable for each other. I smiled. No, we're not. In the past, things felt harmonious only because I kept accommodating you. You didn't need to put in any effort, so of course it felt comfortable. But someone who's always the one giving will get tired too. Amanda lowered her head and said nothing. Just then, Vale took a pear syrup lollipop out of the fridge. He handed it to Andrew. Little brother, you can have this. Uncle made it. It's really tasty. Andrew, like an irritable little bull, suddenly jumped up and slapped the lollipop out of Vale's hand. Who needs you sucking up to me? If I want some, Dad will make tons for me. I walked over, picked up the lollipop from the floor, and handed it back to Vale. If he doesn't like it, you don't need to give it to him. Andrew pressed his lips together, looking aggrieved. Dad, I didn't mean to knock over your candy. I'm sorry. In the past, you didn't like this candy, did you? I interrupted him. You even threw the candy I made into the trash. But your brother likes it very much. From now on, I'll only make it for him. Andrew's tears rolled down his face. Dad, don't you want me anymore? Why are you making candy for him? Alex, Amanda spoke up. I never asked, who is this child, before. I thought he was a neighbor's kid, but I just noticed there are children's slippers at home. Is he a relative's child? He's Vale, my older sister's son. You mean, the child who went missing before? Yes, the police found him. I'm his only remaining family. From now on, he'll live with me. Chapter 15. Amanda fell silent for a long while, as if making up her mind about something. You can bring Vale back to the Hahn family, she said. From now on, we'll raise the 2 children together. I don't want that. Andrew shouted at us. I don't want him coming to our house. Vale trembled in fright and hid behind me. I held Vale's small hand, giving him reassurance with my gaze. Then I turned back to look at the mother and son, my tone firm. Vale has his own home. He doesn't need anyone to bestow a place on him like a handout. Alex, that's not what I meant, Amanda said anxiously. You can't possibly live here forever with just a child, can you? Why not? I replied calmly. This is the place where I grew up. It's my home, and it's Vale's home too. You saw it yourself just now. Your son doesn't want Vale to go to your house, and I don't want Vale living under someone else's roof, watching people's faces. No one would dare give him attitude, Amanda said forcefully, then softened her tone. Alex, Andrew and I both need you. I rubbed my temples. Amanda, during our marriage you treated me coldly, openly cheated, and even tacitly acknowledged Sebastian as your husband in front of the media. After being with him for a few months, you decided you weren't compatible and came back to me, still wearing that arrogant look, as if you'd given me a way out and I should hurry up and take it. I genuinely want to know, how can you be this shameless? Have you not listened to a single word I said? I don't want to go back to being a nanny for you and your son. You say you and your son need me. Sorry, I don't need you. In your eyes, being your husband was some kind of honor for me, wasn't it? You come to ask for reconciliation, and I'm supposed to be overwhelmed with gratitude and immediately pack my bags to go back with you. Let me tell you the truth, whenever I think of those past few years of living like I was being emotionally abused, I wish I could travel back in time and slap myself awake. I had never said such harsh words to Amanda before, presumably. This was also the first time in her life that anyone had spoken to her so bluntly and without mercy. Her expression darkened. She lowered her head and remained silent for a long time. Just when I thought she would storm off in anger, she spoke instead, in a pleading tone I had never heard from her before. I'll change. I didn't react right away. Alex, in the past I was slow and never realized my feelings for you. You're right, I was too arrogant, relying on your love for me and wantonly neglecting and hurting you. But I'm sure of one thing, wanting to get back together with you isn't because I want you to keep taking care of us. During the time you weren't around, I finally realized how desperately I missed you. I thought of you at work, while eating, while sleeping. My mind was full of you. I missed you so much I couldn't calm down. If that isn't love, then what is? I was wrong before. I let you down. I hope you can give me a chance to change. I shook my head without hesitation. No, I won't go back. Amanda, however, didn't waver at all. Alex, I'll show you my sincerity. The very next day, Amanda moved in across the road. She bought that 2-story house directly opposite mine. Chapter 16. After that, every winter and summer vacation, Amanda would bring Andrew to stay nearby, but I only allowed Andrew to come into my home. After all, he was still my child. As for what happened in the past, I didn't blame him too much. He was young then and hadn't yet formed his own values. How his maternal grandparents described me in front of him, and how that led him to dislike me, those things couldn't be blamed on him alone. But because I had been hurt, I could no longer love him the way I used to. Now, what I felt toward him was only responsibility and obligation. I was his father. If he needed me, I would give him the appropriate care and companionship. Nothing more. I had also told him directly, toward you, I may never be able to love you the way other fathers love their children. Andrew smiled with understanding. I know. Dad once gave me a lot of love, but I squandered it all. I didn't know how to cherish it. What I'm facing now is just my own retribution. As long as Dad doesn't drive me away, I'm already very satisfied. On his 6th birthday, I bought him a cake and gave him a hug. So nice. Dad finally hugged me, he said, his eyes brimming with tears. Compared to Andrew, I was far less lenient with Amanda. I firmly refused to let her set foot in my home again. Whenever Andrew came to my place to play or eat, she would wait quietly outside the courtyard gate. When Andrew finished playing and was ready to leave, she would take his hand and leave silently. Later, my resentment toward her gradually faded with time. Once, I spoke to her calmly. Now, to me, you're no different from a stranger. I've thought it through. What happened back then can't be blamed entirely on you. I was the one who rushed in like a moth to a flame, pouring out my feelings one-sidedly. You had every right not to respond. Do you understand? Amanda, I don't love you anymore. Your waiting is meaningless. Let it go. Amanda smiled with acceptance. Of course I can tell. You stopped loving me a long time ago. Because I've seen what you look like when you love someone, but now it's me who loves you. I can't control my own feelings. As long as I can see you, I'm content. Waiting for you has already become part of my life. I don't even expect you to turn back anymore. In the future, I'll wait in my way. You live your life. You don't need to worry about me. Just as she said, Amanda waited quietly and never disturbed me. Every time she brought Andrew over, she would smile and greet me like an ordinary neighbor. Nothing more. Until the year Vale turned 8. I fell in love. After that, during holidays, Andrew came over alone. His mother no longer accompanied him. Andrew was much closer to me than before now. He laughed and said, "My mom doesn't dare come anymore. She said she can't bear to see you standing next to another woman. She's afraid she'd lose control and do something impulsive. Something that might hurt that woman. So she has to endure it. She can't ruin your life." Chapter 17. The year Vale turned 9. I got married. At the wedding, Andrew gave me a gift. He said his mom asked him to pass it on. When I opened it, I found 2 invitation vouchers for a luxury couple's trip to the Maldives from a well-known travel agency. My mom said, "This is your wedding gift," Andrew said with a smile. I was suddenly reminded that before I married Amanda, there had been a brief period when she treated me with rare tenderness. She once asked me where I wanted to go for our honeymoon. I said, "The Maldives. That place is already out of fashion. Isn't it tacky?" She tapped my nose. "Tacky or not, I just want to go." "All right," she said, unusually indulgent. But the day before our departure, she received a phone call. On the other end of the line, Sebastian was crying his heart out. Without a second thought, she booked a flight that very night and rushed off to find him. Just like that, our honeymoon was cancelled. That incident became a lingering regret in my heart. At this moment, holding the 2 exquisitely designed invitation vouchers in my hands, I smiled and closed the box. I handed the gift box back to Andrew. "Give it back to your mom. I don't need it anymore." Later, I realized that regrets can be made up for on your own. Back in the year of the divorce, when I was renovating the courtyard, I had already taken a week off and gone to the Maldives. There, I spent several carefree days on my own and returned fully satisfied. From that point on, there was no regret left in my heart. Standing beside me now, my current wife asked gently, "Where do you want to go for our honeymoon?" I said, "I want to go somewhere far north and go skiing." She smiled softly. "All right, I'll go with you."